The forest cities of Magia were governed by the Magian Council, a group of individuals brought together by the crocodile god Cero and the Emperor of Magia, Claudius. The council consisted of many Magians, but the two most notable members were Tiberius and Sai. Tiberius was the head of the Magian militia, tasked with figuring out how Magia would even stand a chance against Sibyl in the land of Mecca in the north. While Claudius himself was extremely powerful and could easily lead the militia without Tiberius, Tiberius was trained for war and battle from birth. He wasn't brought into the council for his muscle, but rather his superior military strategy. Sai was the head of the council, whom many considered to be a vampire, so most Magians feared him and questioned such a scary individual making important decisions for their people. But Cero and Claudius constantly reassured the Rumans living in Magia that Sai had their best interests at heart. This was something that Sai proved again and again, as he played a pivotal part in Magia's growth and success over the years. Since Magia flourished so much under Claudius's rule and his own chosen council, most Magians didn't question their decisions. However, Claudius found it strange that they didn't. How could they be satisfied with every decision he and his council made? Surely someone out there had to be upset about something. Tiberius once suggested that Sai had put a spell on all of Magia, tricking them into complying, but Sai just explained to them both that the three of them, along with the crocodile god, excel at planning ahead, and the results speak for themselves. Neither explanation sat well with the emperor. When Claudius rose to power, it was because the people respected and adored him. The role of emperor only fell to him because the people of Magia wanted it. He spent most of his life mingling among them before coming into rule. Having his finger on the pulse of his people is what made it so easy to lead them in the first place. How could he feel so distant from them now? In an effort not to keep secrets from his own council, Claudius met with Tiberius and Sai. One of the chambers in the villa in which Claudius spent most of his time was prepared with a large table, chairs, food, and drink. He welcomed Tiberius and Sai into his home in a fashion unlike any before his rule. Attached to this building was a large body of water and an opening in the wall big enough for Cero to rest in his crocodile form. The large god took up the majority of the room, but Sai and Tiberius were unfazed by Cero's presence, as they had interacted with the god on many occasions before. Claudius put out his hand to offer them both seats at the table, and then sat down to join them. He raised a cup of wine, and the three of them enjoyed a drink together before Claudius began speaking. "Thank you for joining me on such short notice, and under different circumstances than we're used to. This setting is important to what I must share with you both." Claudius took another sip of his drink before getting up and walking around the table, his arms folded behind his back. "Magia is prospering, and has been for many years, since the start of my rule and the formation of this council. The Gavolu have finally decided to put aside our differences in order to face the real threat of Sibyl in the north. Cero continues to give me proper advice and guidance, for which I am grateful. I am also grateful for Tiberius's preparations as we get ready for our inevitable fight with Sibyl. Sai puts plans in motion to get us an advantage right within Mecca's wall, things I am also grateful for." Tiberius raised his glass to the emperor. "We too are grateful for your rule and the opportunities you have given us." Sai nodded as well. "Grateful indeed, though I am concerned for the other shoe to drop here. What is the point of this meeting, Emperor? Has something happened?" As Sai asked the question, Claudius had just returned to his place at the head of the table. "Do not be concerned, but something has already happened. We have lost our grip on the Rumans living here in Magia. My obsession with a potential civil war against the Glavolu has blinded me to the concerns all around us. The Magians do not question our decisions, but shouldn't they? Should they not have just as much say in what happens to Magia as we do?" Tiberius looked across the table at Sai for a moment before speaking. "I think that is a path best traveled with caution, my emperor. No Magian will agree to war with Sibyl, nor any of Sai's tactics to give us advantage. There are certain things the other Magians are best left out of. Claudius sat back down and leaned over in his chair. He took a deep breath. Sai and Tiberius both noticed this as the first time they had ever felt Claudius feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. I know you're right about that part of it, but there is so much more at play here that we are not taking into consideration enough. War with Sybil is coming whether we want it or they want it. That much is not up to us or them. Yet I feel as if we need to know more about our people's concerns in order to properly run this continent once the fighting is done. I can't go around and talk to everyone, nor do I expect that of any of you. Therefore, from this day forward, our small tight-knit group within the council will grow one member larger. The large crocodile god finally broke his silence. Claudius, I have warned against keeping too many Magians this close to you and our plans. Claudius once again stood up and nodded his head. Yes, and it is sound advice. It is impossible to know how far Sybil's reach extends, but I have chosen the perfect candidate to join us. Claudius waved his arm to someone outside of the room. A small young woman with dark brown hair entered the room and approached the table. She stood beside Claudius. Sero, Tiberius, and Sai, I want you to meet Teresa. Tiberius once again looked around for answers. My emperor, I mean no disrespect to you or this woman, but she is a commoner, just a normal Magian. She is, said Claudius. That is the point. Teresa, if you will, please. Teresa smiled, but it was obvious she was intimidated by Sero's presence. While Tiberius and Sai were accustomed to staring the large crocodile in the face, the average Magian had never seen him, and some Magians even believed that Sero interacting with Claudius was a made-up story told to keep the Magians believing in Claudius. Thank you so much for welcoming me into the council. Emperor Claudius has brought me in to keep closer tabs on the people of Magia, while you all prepare for the war with Sybil and Mecca. A rare smile appeared on Sai's face. She is a spy sent in to spy on our own people. I have never been more proud of you, Claudius. Claudius returned the smile. I had a feeling you would approve of this tactic, Sai. It is the best way for us to monitor our people and get their true opinions. I feel as if the Magians have become content with following our every decision. But we all know there must be opinions floating around that do not agree with what we have done in the past and what we will do in the future. Without Teresa's insight and information, I fear as if we may lose Magia in an effort to take Mecca. It is settled then, added Sai. Welcome to the council. Yes, said Tiberius. Welcome. Teresa sat down and joined them for the meal, in which Sai and Tiberius asked her many questions. Claudius simply observed their interactions and Teresa's answers, which only further ensured him that he was making the right decision. Since he could no longer walk among his people so often and so easily, it was time for someone else to take on the role he used to play. Sai left the meeting first, as he was typically the most busy council member, followed by Tiberius. Teresa got up to say her farewells, but Sero called both her and Claudius over. Though it was difficult for Sero to fully move his head within the villa at times, he peered over with his eyes to look at Teresa, then turned his focus back to Claudius. Despite how I feel about growing this council unnecessarily, I agree that you have made the right choice with this one. It may appear as if the Magians agree with our every decision, but the only way to get that assurance is to have someone among them able to relay their concerns back to us. Well done, Claudius. And to you, Teresa, do not let us down. Your role may prove the most important in the future of our great continent. Teresa was getting more accustomed to Sero's presence as she bowed to him. I will not let any of you down, especially the people of Magia.